A courtroom in Southport, September 2025. CCTV footage plays on a screen. A prosecutor points to a man in the footage and says, "That is Harley Barbaro consorting with a known offender." Harley is sitting in the dock. He watches the screen. Then he leans toward his lawyer and whispers 3 words. "That's not Harley." It isn't. The man in the footage is someone else entirely. Same first name, same tattoos, same concreting job, different person. The prosecutor's case falls apart in real time. Harley Barbaro walks out of that courtroom free. It is the last time he will ever walk out of a courtroom. 7 months later, he is dead. 33 years old, found in his bed on a Saturday morning after a perfectly ordinary Friday night at a boxing card on the Sunshine Coast. The cause of death has not been publicly determined, but here is what has been determined. Across a decade of courtrooms and legal battles that most people never heard about. Harley Barbaro, Gold Coast Bikie, thug by reputation, barber by trade, accidentally reshaped Queensland's legal system. Twice. Not through violence, through the law itself. And the question that raises, about who the system was actually designed to serve, has never been fully answered. Thank you for watching our video. Don't forget to hit subscribe to support us. That is exactly what keeps us going and gives us the motivation to keep making the next one. Now, let's go back to where this starts. There are surnames you carry, and there are surnames that carry you. Barbaro is the second kind. Harley Anthony Barbaro was born on the Gold Coast into a family whose history reads like a ledger of violence written across 3 generations. His grandfather, Pasquale Barbaro Sr., was executed in Brisbane in 1990. His roots traced back to Calabria, the southern Italian region long associated with the 'Ndrangheta. His cousin, another Pasquale, was shot dead in Melbourne in 2003 alongside Jason Moran at a children's football clinic. That killing would later appear in the television series Underbelly. By the time Harley was old enough to understand what his surname meant in a Queensland police database, it already carried a body count that had nothing to do with him. He grew up in that shadow. He made choices inside that shadow. Some of those choices were his own. Some of them were made for him before he was born. The question this story forces, and never fully resolves, is where the shadow ends and the man begins. In 2018, Queensland police charge Harley Barbaro under the state's new serious and organised crime legislation, habitually consorting with recognised offenders. The charge is designed to dismantle criminal networks by making it illegal for their members to associate with each other. The theory is sound. The execution, in Harley's case, is not. In March 2019, a Southport magistrate delivers a verdict that stuns the architects of Queensland's anti-gang framework. Not guilty. The warning notice that formed the basis of the charge is invalid. Police had bundled 15 names into a single blanket notice instead of issuing separate warnings for each recognised offender. And one of the 15 people on the list does not legally qualify as a recognised offender at all. The charge, the first ever laid under Queensland's new consorting laws, collapses because the paperwork was wrong. The Queensland Attorney General refers the matter to the Court of Appeal to clarify how consorting notices must be issued in future. Harley Barbaro, thug by reputation, barber by trade, has just forced the state to rewrite its anti-gang procedures. He is not finished. In 2018, separate from the consorting charge, police search Harley's bundle home. They find things. They also find his phone. They ask him to unlock it. He refuses. He tells the court the phone contains privileged confidential communications with his solicitor. He is initially convicted for failing to comply with a police direction. He appeals to the district court. He wins. Queensland Police Commissioner escalates the fight to the Court of Appeal. 3 judges, 1 unanimous decision. Protecting legal professional privilege, the confidentiality of communications between a person and their lawyer, is a legitimate and reasonable excuse to refuse police access to a phone. Harley's conviction is permanently quashed. His lawyer calls it a landmark result. Because it is. Every person in Queensland, not just bikies, not just criminals, not just Harley Barbaro, now has clearer protection for their communications with their lawyer. a protection established through a case that began with a bikie refusing to unlock his phone during a raid. The system that was designed to contain Harley Barbaro had been reshaped by him, twice. Here is the question that Gok Trankai 2 forces, and that nobody in Queensland politics or law enforcement has fully answered. If Harley Barbaro, a man with 17 prior convictions, a member of the Mongols Motorcycle Club, a Gold Coast figure who appeared in tabloid crime coverage for a decade, can expose fundamental procedural failures in Queensland's anti-gang legislation and a constitutional gap in police phone search powers, what does that say about the system itself? 2 readings, both supported by the record. Reading 1. This is the system working exactly as it should. Courts are independent, laws are tested. When police get it wrong, procedurally, constitutionally, courts correct them. Harley Barbaro received the same legal protection as any other Queensland resident. That is not a failure. That is justice operating without favoritism. Reading 2. This is the system revealing how poorly it was constructed. Police charged a man under legislation so poorly drafted that the first case under it was thrown out because of a defective notice. Police tried to access a phone without adequately accounting for legal professional privilege, a protection so fundamental it dates back centuries. If it took Harley Barbaro to expose both failures, the system had been operating with those gaps for years before anyone noticed. Neither reading cancels the other. Both sit in the public record simultaneously. While Harley was fighting the Queensland legal system in courtroom after courtroom, he was also living a life that the tabloid coverage consistently flattened into a single dimension. He named his firstborn son Rosario Sonny. Rosario, after his older brother who took his own life in 2017, months after watching their brother Pasquale shot dead outside a Sydney home. Sonny, after his best friend Sonny Jenkins, who was in prison when the baby was born and became the boy's godfather from inside a Queensland jail cell. An infant, named after grief and incarceration, entering a world where his father could not legally sit in the same room as his godfather, where the consorting laws that Harley had exposed as procedurally defective still governed who could attend the same spaces as who. In 2021, Harley was caught driving with drugs in his system. His lawyer told the court that grief over the death of his close friend Liam Scorsese, shot dead by police, had pushed him back toward drug use, that he had been trying to stay clean, that the added stress of trying to organize a funeral while dodging consorting laws that technically prevented mourners from gathering had broken something in him. He was fined $400. He had a son named after a dead brother and an imprisoned friend. He was trying, by every available account, to be present for his children in a way the men in his family had rarely managed to be. And then in July 2026, on a Friday night that looked like every other Friday night, he went to a boxing card on the Sunshine Coast, hugged old friends, and came home. He was found dead the next morning, 33 years old. Harley Anthony Barbaro, born Gold Coast. Grandfather executed Brisbane 1990. Cousin shot dead Melbourne 2003. Alongside Jason Moran. Brother Pasquale shot dead Sydney 2016. Brother Rosario died 2017. 2018. First person charged under Queensland's consorting laws. 2019. Found not guilty, notice ruled invalid. Attorney General refers matter to Court of Appeal. 2018. Convicted of failing to unlock phone for police. Appealed to District Court. 1. Queensland Police Commissioner escalated to Court of Appeal. Court of Appeal ruled unanimously in his favour. Legal professional privilege is a legitimate reason to refuse phone access. Conviction permanently quashed. 2020. Pleaded guilty to 96 consorting breaches over 4 months. 3 months imprisonment, wholly suspended. 2022. Sentenced to 18 months for orchestrating group assault. Released immediately on parole. September 2025. Final courtroom appearance. Consorting charge withdrawn when CCTV footage shows the man identified as his associate is a different person entirely. July 2026. Found dead in his bed on a Saturday morning. Age 33. Cause of death not publicly determined. Authorities not treating as suspicious. There is a photograph from Harley Barbaro's last night alive. Black Burberry shirt stretched over heavily tattooed arms. laughing with mates at a pub on the Sunshine Coast. A man who, by every account of everyone who saw him that night, seemed completely fine. Hours later, he was dead. The system that spent a decade trying to contain him, through consorting laws, through phone search directions, through dozens of court appearances, had not killed him. Time had. Or something else entirely, that the public record has not yet explained. But the system he spent a decade fighting had also not managed to hold him. And in the process of failing to hold him, it had been forced to become more precise, more constitutionally sound, more careful about how it drafted notices and how it approached legal privilege. The irony is not subtle. The man the system was built to suppress made the system better at suppressing others by exposing where it was broken. The first question this raises, when the same legal architecture that was meant to dismantle criminal networks requires a criminal to dismantle its flaws, who is actually running the system? The second question is harder. Harley Barbaro was born into a surname that had already claimed 5 people before him. He made his choices inside that inheritance. Some were violent, some were stupid. Some, like refusing to unlock that phone, were constitutionally correct in ways that benefited every Queensland resident who came after him. For our community in Aotearoa, Queensland's consorting laws are a version of what New Zealand has attempted with anti-gang legislation, patch bans, and association orders. Each of those mechanisms faces the same tension that Harley Barbaro exposed. A law powerful enough to prevent criminal networks from operating is also powerful enough to prevent ordinary association, ordinary mourning, ordinary human contact. The question is not whether that tension exists. It does. The question is, who gets to draw the line? And whether the people drawing it have read the case of a Gold Coast Bikie who forced them to redraw it twice. What do you reckon? When a man with 17 prior convictions accidentally protects the constitutional rights of every person in his state, what does that tell us about who the law was actually written for?